Over 450 years ago, the great mystic and seer known as Nostradamus made predictions about the future in a series of poems, many of which have come to fruition, have come to truth, and he seems to be very accurate about predicting the future. So what does the great Nostradamus have to say about 2020? I found it very interesting when I was looking at some of the predictions that Nostradamus had for this upcoming year. You see, some of it is already starting to happen, and you could understand how he might already be right with these predictions. So one of the predictions that Nostradamus made was that in 2020 we would see labor shortages, and we would at the same time see food shortages as a result of the labor shortages. Now, Nostradamus believed in 2022 that it would be a hard time finding workers to produce food, to produce the goods we need in society. And this would lead to a shortage of goods and food, and that the prices of food would inflate greatly, and this would lead to a mass starvation event, and that many people would starve in 2022. And when you look at what's happening currently, when you go to the stores and you see a lot of the empty shelves, and you hear about a lot of these places are having a hard time keeping staff on hand, you start to think that he was onto something. Like, how accurate is that he predicted that for 2022 almost 450 years ago? It's as if he knew what was going to happen. Now, as part of that, I feel like that leads into the next prediction by Nostradamus. In that 2022, he predicted that AI intelligence would soon control the world. And when you look at the announcement made by Elon Musk 3 months ago that we should start making robots to replace workers who don't want to work, and that that robots are the future of these factories and work and handling the bulk load of work, then you start to understand where he was going with this, right? Because we're starting to see this new type of intelligent robot that not only is this advanced technology that can do the job of man, but also has intellect, also has the ability to decide what it wants to do, can choose between right and wrong. And that's when it starts getting scary, that this thing has almost a conscience, if you will. It's very intelligent and can learn and can understand that, hey, we could be in charge, we could control the human race if we choose to do so. And if you look at some of these grocery stores like Schnucks, they already have robots, these advanced intelligent technology that's in the grocery stores that hover around the aisles looking at prices and checking inventory. So we've already made a lot of advancements when it comes to AI tech, and it's just only a matter of time before, I think, because of this labor shortage, that we start seeing these workers being replaced by robots, and that robots soon will control the majority of the production of the food and the goods that we use, that we consume, that we buy on a regular basis. And so therefore, they control what we eat, what we buy, and how much of it is actually available. So this gives them a lot of power, because what people don't realize is that the manufacturers, the truck drivers, the people that keep these goods, produce these goods and keep them moving along, essentially are very important to us. And the moment they decide they don't want to do it anymore, we're screwed because we rely so much on others to make those goods, to provide us with those goods and supply us. We don't make any of our own food. We don't make any of our own goods. And that's why I think we could easily be subjugated to an AI technology, you know? And Nostradamus for 2022, once again, he has predicted a giant meteorite could impact the Earth, which we've heard this prediction over and over again. And it's interesting because it hasn't happened, but we've had some meteorites that have flown very close to the Earth. And it almost makes me think about these predictions that Nostradamus made. Was he essentially alluding to the fact that these things could happen, and emphasis on could, that perhaps humanity was in charge of its own fate and could choose what would happen to it based on the actions that it took, you know, sort of a alternate reality kind of thing. So it makes me wonder, did Nostradamus not so much predict the future, but predict different outcomes that could occur in each different year? Because we've seen a lot of accuracy with his predictions, but we've seen some where he's failed to accurately predict things that would happen. And I think that there's absolutely a good chance that he could have been predicting the future, but predicting various futures that could potentially happen to us. And that's something that I've always thought when I've looked at the works of Nostradamus. But essentially, if we look at these predictions, some of them have already come true. And I think that initially, I don't think Nostradamus predicted these things to scare us. I think more or less he wanted to tell humanity that there are various options, various alternate realities, possibilities that could happen to civilization if we choose the wrong path, if we choose the wrong direction. So it's just something definitely interesting to think about and kind of consume in your imagination, you know, the possibilities of what Nostradamus predicted.